Selected sales and operating data for three divisions of different structural engineering firms are given below. Compute the return on investment, the ROI, for each division using profit margin and turnover, and compute the residual income for each division. If presented with an investment opportunity yielding a 15% rate of return, how would each division evaluate the investment under both performance measures? Let's begin by calculating the ROI for each division. For Division A, we have an operating margin of 5%. We find this by dividing the $600,000 in net operating income by $12 million in sales. Division A has an asset turnover of 4, which is found by dividing $12 million in sales by $3 million in average operating assets, which means its ROI is 20%, which we find by multiplying the 5% profit margin by the asset turnover of 4. Division B has a margin of 4%, which is found by dividing the $560,000 in net operating income by its $14 million in sales. Its asset turnover is 2, which is found by dividing $14 million in sales by $7 million in average operating assets, which gives it an ROI of 8%. Division C has a margin of 3.2%, which is found by dividing its $800,000 in net operating income by $25 million in sales. Its asset turnover is 5, which is found by dividing $25 million in sales by $5 million in average operating assets. And when we multiply our profit margin by our asset turnover, we get an ROI of 16%. Let's go ahead now and calculate the residual income for each division. Residual income, recall, is the difference between the division's net operating income and its minimum required rate of return. We were told Division A has a net operating income of $600,000. Its minimum required return is $420,000, which we find by multiplying its average operating assets of $3 million by its 14% required rate of return. When we subtract its minimum required return from its net operating income, we arrive at a residual income of $180,000. Division B has net operating income of $560,000. Its minimum required return is $700,000, which is found by multiplying its average operating assets of $7 million by its 10% required rate of return. Since its minimum required return is greater than its current net operating income, it has a negative residual income of $140,000. Division C has a net operating income of $800,000, which is exactly equal to its minimum required return, which we find by multiplying its average operating assets of $5 million by its 16% required rate of return. This means it has 0 for its residual income. Division A, if it's using ROI to evaluate a project that yields a 15% required rate of return, it will reject the project since its current ROI of 20% is greater than the investment required rate of return of 15%. However, using residual income, it would accept the project since the ROI on the project of 15% is greater than its required rate of return of 14%. Division B would accept the project using ROI, since the project's ROI of 15% is greater than its current ROI of 8%. Using residual income, it would also accept the project, since the project offers a 15% rate of return and it only requires a 10% rate of return. Division C would reject the project using ROI, since its current ROI of 16% is greater than the 15% rate of return offered by the project. It would also reject the project using residual income, since the project's ROI of 15% is less than its required rate of return of 16%.